We initiate the structural analysis of the modern panopticon known as the open plan office. You must understand that the layout of your workspace is not designed for collaboration or synergy. It is designed for surveillance and submission. The geometry of the office is a direct descendant of the prison architecture developed by Jeremy Bentham in the 18th century. The goal is to strip you of privacy, destroy your deep focus, and keep you in a state of constant low-level paranoia where you feel watched even when you are not. The soft man walks into his cubicle or open desk and accepts his position as a unit of production. He sits with his back to the door, the death seat. He places his monitor where everyone can see it. He exposes his jugular to the room. The architect treats the office floor as a combat zone. You do not just sit, you occupy territory. You must manipulate the geometry of the space to regain tactical superiority. The first rule is the sniper's perch. You never sit with your back to the flow of traffic. You never sit with your back to the entrance. This triggers the primal predator detection system in your brainstem. If you cannot see who is approaching, your cortisol stays elevated because your subconscious is expecting a tiger or a boss to attack from behind. You must position yourself in a corner or against a wall facing the room. This is the command position. It lowers your heart rate, increases your focus, and signals dominance. You are the watcher, not the watched. We must then analyze the acoustic battlefield. The open office is an echo chamber of mediocrity. The chatter, the phones, the typing. This is cognitive shrapnel. It fragments your attention. Every time you are interrupted, it takes 23 minutes to return to deep flow. If you are interrupted 3 times an hour, you are statistically incapable of deep work. You are just skimming the surface of your potential. The architect deploys acoustic defenses. You do not ask for quiet. You impose silence upon your own sphere. You wear large, over-ear, noise-cancelling headphones. These are not just audio devices. They are do not disturb signs hung on your ears. They create a physical barrier. You play focus frequencies, binaural beats, brown noise, to drown out the herd. You create a soundtrack of sovereignty. Furthermore, you must master the voice of authority. In an open space, the soft man whispers to avoid disturbing others. This makes him sound weak and conspiratorial. The architect speaks at a normal, resonant volume. He is not afraid to take up sonic space. When you speak clearly and without fear in a quiet room, you assert ownership of the airwaves. You force the room to entrain to your rhythm. We must dig deeper into the verticality of status. The geometry of power is vertical. The boss stands, the employee sits, the judge sits high, the defendant sits low. In the office, the standing desk is not just an ergonomic tool, it is a siege tower. When you stand while others sit, you are physically looking down on them. This triggers a biological submission response in their brains. You are bigger, you are more mobile, you are ready to move. The soft man sits in a hunch, compressing his lungs and projecting lethargy. The architect stands. He occupies the high ground. Even if you don't have a standing desk, you take your cold standing up. You walk while you think. You refuse to be sedentary furniture. When someone approaches your desk to give you a task, you stand up immediately to meet them eye to eye. You never let someone loom over you. You neutralize their height advantage. This simple geometric adjustment changes the psychological dynamic from master/servant to peer/peer, or even predator/prey. We must also confront the visual voids and clutter. Look at the desk of the soft man. It is covered in papers, sticky notes, old coffee cups, and personal trinkets, photos of the dog, Funko Pops. This is visual noise. It signals a cluttered mind. It signals that he is overwhelmed and holding on to the past. It makes him look like a nester, someone who is digging in for a long, mediocre sentence. The architect maintains a zero-point surface. Your desk should look like the cockpit of a fighter jet or an operating table. Clean, sterile, lethal. Only the tool you are currently using is visible. This minimalist geometry intimidates people. It signals extreme efficiency. It signals that you are processed, organized, and ready for new intel. When a boss walks by a cluttered desk, he thinks, this guy is drowning. When he walks by a pristine desk, he thinks, this guy is on top of everything. You are manipulating his perception through the geometry of your surface area. You are projecting executive function before you even open your mouth. Let us analyze the corridor politics, the hallways, the break room, the elevator. These are the choke points. The soft man navigates these spaces passively. He stares at his phone to avoid eye contact. He shuffles. The architect treats the corridor as a runway. You walk down the center of the hall, not the side. You walk with velocity. You look ahead. When you encounter someone, you do not deviate your path until the last second, and even then, you do it smoothly. You own the center lane. In the elevator, you do not stand in the corner looking at the floor. You stand near the door or in the back center, the power spot, facing forward, observing the enclosure. You are comfortable in the confined space. You do not fidget. This spatial confidence radiates. People feel safer around a man who occupies space without apology. They also feel less inclined inclined to challenge him. You are marking your territory with your stride. Finally, we arrive at the glass bowl effect. Many modern offices are glass fish bowls. Everyone can see everyone. This destroys the mystique. If people can see you eating, scratching your nose, and looking bored, you become mundane. The architect fights for invisibility. You find the dead zones in the office geometry, the quiet corners, the booked meeting rooms, where you can disappear to do deep work. You use the booking hack, booking a conference room for yourself just to think. You create scarcity of presence. If you are always visible, you are low value. If you are sometimes hard to find, and when you appear, you deliver massive value, you are high status. You must learn to ghost. You vanish from the fishbowl to build the weapon, and you reappear to fire it. You refuse to be a goldfish swimming in circles for the amusement of management. You are the shark that stays deep until it is time to feed. We now transition to phase 2, the kinetic occupation. We have established the defensive geometry. Now we move to the offensive manipulation of the office environment. You must understand that every meeting room is a theater of war. The shape of the table, usually rectangular or oval, dictates the hierarchy. The head of the table is the seat of power. The soft man walks in and takes a side seat, usually in the middle, blending in. He physically positions himself as a spectator. The architect captures the power seat. If you cannot take the head, because the CEO is there, you take the seat directly opposite the head, or to the immediate right of the head. The opposite seat is the challenger position. It allows for direct eye contact and confrontation. The right hand is the consigliere position. It implies alliance and influence. You never sit in the back row. You never sit where your line of sight is blocked. You place your notebook and phone on the table, spreading them out slightly. You are claiming acreage. You are expanding your perimeter. This subtle territorial expansion forces others to shrink. You are winning the negotiation before a word is spoken. We must then execute the doorway dominance. The threshold is a magical boundary. How you enter a room sets the frame for the entire interaction. The soft man enters tentatively. He knocks on the open door frame. He peeks his head in. Got a minute? He has already lost. He is asking for permission to exist. The architect executes the breach. You walk through the doorway without breaking stride. You do not knock on an open door unless it is a C-suite executive, and even then, it is a courtesy knock as you enter, not a request. You walk into the room, and you move deeper into the space than expected. You do not hover by the door. Hovering signals flight risk. You walk to the center of the room or to the desk and you stand there comfortably. You have invaded their geometry. Now they must deal with you. You have forced the interaction to happen on your terms, even in their office. We must dig deeper into the light and temperature warfare. The office environment is designed to sedate you with 70-degree air and fluorescent blue light. This destroys your circadian rhythm and lowers your testosterone. The architect hacks the environment. If you have an office, you kill the overhead fluorescence. You bring in lamps with warm light, 2700 Kelvin. This creates a hearth atmosphere. It lowers cortisol and makes people feel safer and more trusting when they enter your space. It distinguishes your territory from the sterile factory floor outside. If you cannot control the lights, you wear blue light blocking glasses. This is not a fashion statement, it is optical armor. You protect your dopamine receptors from the harsh flicker of the screens. Regarding temperature, the cold makes you sharp, the warmth makes you dull. If you control the thermostat, drop it. If you don't, dress in layers so you are never overheating. A sweating man is a weak man. A cool man is a calculating man. We must also confront the monitor fortress. Your screen is your interface with the matrix, but it is also a barrier. The soft man has a low monitor, forcing him to look down, submission posture. The architect raises his monitor. Your eyeline should hit the top third of the screen. This forces your neck straight and your chin up, but more importantly, you use the monitors to create privacy flanks. If you have dual monitors, you angle them to create a cockpit that blocks the peripheral view of your neighbors. You are building a wall. This reduces visual distraction from the sides and signals do not enter. You are constructing a cubicle within a cubicle. You are fighting the open plan with physical hardware. Let us analyze the chair mechanics. The chair is the throne of the modern worker. Most office chairs are designed to make you collapse. The architect adjusts the tension. You lock the backrest so it does not recline easily. You want a chair that supports an active sit, not a hammock. When you are in a negotiation or a serious conversation, you lean forward. You do not recline. Reclining signals disengagement or arrogance, depending on the context, but leaning forward signals attack and interest. You intrude into the airspace of the table. You use uses your hands. You occupy the void between you and the opponent. When you are listening, you sit still. Absolute stillness is terrifying to the fidgety soft man. He spins in his chair. He taps his foot. You are a statue. This kinetic discipline makes you the anchor of the room. The person with the most stillness controls the frame. We must then address the exit strategy geometry. How you leave is just as important as how you enter. The soft man lingers. He stands up, shuffles, says, "Okay, well, I guess I'll go," and slowly backs out. The architect executes a hard cut. When the business is done, you stand up immediately. You offer the hand, if appropriate. You say good. You turn and you walk away. You do not look back. You do not wave from the door. This clean break signals that your time is valuable and the transaction is complete. You leave a vacuum behind you. The people remaining in the room are left in the wake of your energy. They process what just happened. By removing your presence abruptly, you increase your value. You are not hanging out. You are operating. Finally, we arrive at the metaphysics of the square foot. Ultimately, the geometry of the office is a battle for psychic real estate. The system wants to compress you into a 4x2 desk and a 9 to 5 time slot. The architect expands. You expand your physical presence through posture. You expand your acoustic presence through voice. You expand your territorial presence through the layout of your tools. You are declaring that where you stand is liberated territory. You are a sovereign node in the corporate network. You do not let the walls compress you. You push back against the walls. You turn the prison into a gymnasium. You turn the cubicle into a cockpit. You turn the meeting room into a dojo. You define the space. The space does not define you. This is the geometry of the architect. Measure your angles. Sharpen your edges. Occupy the room. We initiate phase 2, the kinetic occupation of the hive. In phase 1, we establish the static defenses of your desk and the meeting room. Phase 2 is the operational manual for navigating the fluid dynamics of the corporate ecosystem. You must understand that the office is not just a physical location. It is a psychic grid overlaid with invisible power lines. The soft man walks through this grid blindly, tripping over wires, absorbing stress, and leaking status. The architect moves through the grid like a system administrator. You hack the layout to serve your biology, and you manipulate the social geometry to serve your career. We must first dismantle the tyranny of the green dot. The modern open plan has extended into the digital realm via Slack, Teams, and Zoom. The green dot, active status, is the digital equivalent of the panopticon. The soft man is terrified of the dot turning yellow or gray. He installs mouse jigglers. He replies instantly to every ping to prove he is working. This is digital servitude. The architect breaks the leash. You intentionally turn your status to away or do not disturb for 4-hour blocks. You train your colleagues that you are not an on-demand resource. You are a batch processor. By removing the expectation of instant response, you create scarcity. When you finally do reply, your words carry weight because they were waited for. You are teaching the algorithm of the office that your attention is expensive. Shutterstock. We must then analyze the sanctuary of the stall. In a glass-walled office, the bathroom is the only place where you are legally entitled to privacy. The soft man uses the bathroom to hide, to scroll Instagram, to dissociate. The architect uses the bathroom as a tactical reset chamber. When the cortisol spikes, when the sensory overload of the open plan hits the red line, you retreat to the stall. You do not check your phone. You perform box breathing, 4-4-4-4. You do power posing, arms up, expanding the ribcage, which is proven to lower cortisol and raise testosterone within 2 minutes. You splash cold water on your wrists, cooling the blood. You stare in the mirror and reset your facial armor. You re-enter the office floor, not as a tired employee who took a leak, but as a fighter who just reset his adrenaline levels. You treat the bathroom breaks as pit stops for your biological race car. We must dig deeper into the geometry of the commute. The transition from home self to war self happens in the transit zone. The soft man wastes this time listening to the news, anxiety, or mindless pop music, sedation. He arrives at the office already defeated by the traffic. The architect treats the car or the train as a decompression chamber. You curate a war playlist, audiobooks on strategy, aggressive music, or absolute silence to visualize the day's kill. But more importantly, you operationalize the parking lot power move. You do not circle for 10 minutes looking for the closest spot to minimize walking. You park far away. You park in the back 40. Why? First, to force movement, biological activation. Second, to separate your vehicle from the herd, but mainly to give yourself a walk-up. The walk from the far end of the lot to the front door is your march to the arena. You use those 5 minutes to adjust your posture, to lengthen your stride, to put on the game face. You enter the building with momentum, while the soft man enters the building out of breath and stressed from fighting for a parking spot. We must also confront the lunch hour geopolitics. The soft man eats a sad salad at his desk, scrolling his phone, crumbs falling into his keyboard. This is the feeder mentality. You are livestock eating in your stall. It signals, I have no life, and I am chained to this machine. The architect never eats at the desk. You leave the building. You expose your eyes to natural light, resetting the circadian clock. You walk. If you eat with colleagues, you treat it as intel gathering. You do not gossip, you listen. You identify the alliances. You find the weak links. You hold court. But preferably, you eat alone or with high-value targets, mentors, clients. You use the hour to exit the matrix. You go to a gym, a park, or a quiet cafe. You remind your brain that there is a world outside the fluorescent lights. This context switching refreshes the dopamine reserves. You return to the office at 1 p.m. sharp, energized, while the desk eaters are entering their postprandial coma. We must then address the artifacts of analog dominance. In a digital office, physical objects carry totemic power. The soft man takes notes on his laptop, hiding behind the screen, clicking away. He looks like a transcriptionist. The architect brings a black hardbound notebook and a heavy metal pen. When you are in a meeting, you close the laptop. You push it away. You operate in analog mode. This signals deep attention. It signals that you are thinking, not just processing. When you write something down with a pen, everyone watches. What is he writing? It creates mystery. It creates authority. The notebook is your book of judgment. The laptop is a tool of consumption. The notebook is a tool of creation. By rejecting the screen in the meeting, you become the most present person in the room. Presence is power. Let us analyze the stairwell sovereignty. The elevator is a social trap. It is an awkward, confined box where you are forced to make small talk about the weather. It is the tube of mediocrity. The architect takes the stairs, always, even if it is 10 floors. This serves 3 purposes. 1. Cardio snacking, keeping the metabolism fired. 2. Avoidance of NPC dialogue, preserving mental energy. 3. The kinetic entry. When you burst out of the stairwell door, your heart is beating, your blood is pumping, your face is flushed with oxygen. You look alive. The elevator riders pour out looking stagnant and pale. You are biologically signaling that you have more horsepower than them. You are the high energy candidate. In the corporate world, energy is often mistaken for competence, so you might as well have both. We must also confront the thermodynamics of the wardrobe. The office is often freezing or boiling. The soft man shivers in his polo shirt. The architect understands layering systems. You keep a structured jacket or a high-quality cardigan on the back of your chair or on a hanger. This is your uniform. When a surprise meeting is called or when the boss walks in, you suit up. You put on the layer. This transforms you from casual worker to professional operator in 5 seconds. It frames your shoulders. It hides sweat. It commands respect. The jacket is the modern equivalent of the breastplate. You do not go into battle without your armor. Having it ready signals that you are prepared for the unpredictable. We must dig deeper into the social geometry of the casual collision. The open office is designed to foster serendipitous interactions. The soft man gets trapped in these. He gets cornered by the water cooler by chatty Kathy, who wants to talk about her cat. He is too polite to leave. He loses 20 minutes. The architect masters the walk by. You never stop moving completely in the common areas. You keep your feet shuffling. You angle your body toward the exit. You use the hard-out phrase, walk with me. If someone wants to talk, you force them to walk with you to your destination. This changes the dynamic. You are the lead vehicle. They are the satellite. If they cannot keep up or if they don't want to walk, the conversation ends. You dictate the velocity of the interaction. You value your momentum more than their feelings. Finally, we arrive at the exit strategy, the Irish goodbye. The end of the day is a critical geometric maneuver. The soft man announces his departure. Okay guys, I'm heading out. See you tomorrow. He waits for permission. He waits for validation. He feels guilty leaving at 5:01. The architect executes the ghost protocol. You do not announce your exit. You simply vanish. You pack your bag efficiently. You stand up. You walk out. You do not wave. You do not say goodbye unless you are directly engaged. Why? Because announcing your exit draws attention to the time you are leaving. If you leave at 4:45 p.m. and announce it, you are leaving early. If you leave at 4:45 p.m. and simply disappear, people assume you are in a meeting or on a call or working from home. You maintain the illusion of omnipresence. You are everywhere and nowhere. You are judged by your output, not your timestamp. By refusing to perform the punching out ritual, you psychologically remove yourself from the hourly wage mindset. You are not selling hours. You are delivering results. When the results are delivered, the architect leaves the building to rebuild the machine for the next day. The directive. The office is a map. Most people are just terrain features, obstacles, or background noise. You are the player. You are the navigator. Stop letting the walls compress you. Stop letting the lights sedate you. Stop letting the layout dictate your behavior. Hack the grid. Own the space. Be the ghost in the machine, not the cog in the wheel. Now get back to work on your terms.